You can talk.
Hey everybody, welcome to our event tonight. So I'm going to add April Caldwell in a second here. She's a financial wealth advisor. I think a lot of you might already know her. We've done some podcasts before, and we're going to just ask her a couple of questions and tips and tricks tonight about how to financially prioritize your health and that your health doesn't have to be a luxury. So let's see if we can get her on here. You guys probably know I'm really good at this. Just hit add. And we're adding. Hey, it worked! I'm so happy.
Yay.
Thanks for joining us, April.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we're just telling our audience that what we said is that your health doesn't have to be a luxury, right? It doesn't have to cost a fortune. It's something that we want to teach people how to prioritize and make a plan for it, right?
Yeah.
So I know, obviously, as being an alternative medicine practitioner, that's one big roadblock why people might not seek, this type of care. It's kind of like one of those myths, like, oh, well, if my insurance doesn't cover it, then I can't go. Or that might be like the very first question somebody asks when they call in as a new potential patient: do you take my insurance? So what do you have for us tonight? Give me a little introduction about, the topic in general. Why do you feel like this is important? Is it something that you also hear on a regular basis?
It is. Actually, now that I've been working with women and helping them with their money and their budget, what I have found, it used to be I wouldn't mess with the hair and nails budget, right? And now it's
Yeah, I've heard you say that.
now it's hair, nails, organic food, and holistic care. Like,
I love that. Keep telling people that. It's good.
so I don't mess with it. But here's what I found, kind of like along the lines of what you were talking about, was one, either they don't do it because they think they can't afford it, which they don't know, right? It's just an assumption that they can't
Yeah,
afford it.
exactly. I think the same
Yep.
thing. Yep.
Or they go ahead and pay for it and do it, but then feel guilty because they still don't know if they can afford it, but they're paying for it. So all of that has to do with knowing their numbers and knowing what their finances and their budget looks like.
And would you also say, like, that would be making it a budget line item? Like, I've heard you say that. Like, as long as it's a line item in your budget, then you can feel good about it. So you want to talk about how do you know, like, what is a line item in your budget? Or what does that even mean if somebody's never heard those words before?
Oh my gosh. If they've never heard those words before, I'm going to take a moment of
Don't freak
silence
out.
for just
Yeah.
But yes, no, you're super smart. You're super right. Actually, one of my 3 tips is, the first one is making it a budget line item. So when you think
Okay.
about all the things that you have to pay for, buy, spend on that month, whatever form of holistic care, self-care you're doing needs to be on that list. So it needs to be part of your plan. There needs to be dollars assigned to it. You need to be the money boss and give those dollars a job to go towards holistic care.
Okay. I love that. So then it doesn't grab them by surprise, right?
Right. Then it's not like they know how much they're going to be spending. It's allocated money to go to this. So one, they know that they can afford it. And 2, if they are paying for it, they don't have to feel guilty because they know everything else is still being taken care of.
Right. So, talk to me a little bit about that word luxury. Like, to me, luxury means, like, they might not think it's necessary or they might not think it's obtainable. What do you think?
I think luxury is a mindset. So
Okay.
when I talk about luxury, everybody has their own definition of luxury. And so, I mean, it may be something that is luxurious. It may be the really nice shoes. It may be, 5-star vacations. But luxury could just also be self-care. It can be treating yourself. It can be part of what you do. And it's just a little special treat for yourself. And it's not like luxury out of the budget, right? It's not something that's unobtainable. For Stephanie Lincoln, luxury is probably a tent in the desert with, like, a canteen. So,
That poor woman.
but that's her happy place, right? So,
I know. I get it. Well, I don't get it, but I think I get it from
Right,
you.
yes. So luxury is a mindset, is what you define it as, and it's not something that only, rich people have, right?
Right. That makes sense. Well, and I think like luxury, like I hate to think that people are thinking of healthcare as a luxury because it should be your first priority because like nothing is going to be as enjoyable as it possibly could if you don't have your health
Right.
first, right? So,
Absolutely.
in alternative medicine, one of our major themes is that preventative and be proactive. And so I feel like if you're not spending the money now on prevention and being proactive, you're going to spend the money
Yeah.
later on emergency intervention, and it might not be things that you would have chosen,
Yeah.
right? So I just really hope people don't think of healthcare as a
Right.
luxury.
No, it should be a staple. It should be a line item. You've got your housing, you've got your food, you have your transportation, and healthcare needs to be one of those things that you just don't sacrifice.
Absolutely. And I feel like too, people might want alternative medicine or be able to go to the practitioner of their choice or seek out, some kind of therapies, for example, chiropractic or nutrition or kinesiology or whatnot, massage, acupuncture, that might not be covered by their traditional health care, or their managed care kind of a thing. But at the same time, like, you're saying you just make sure that it's in there and you're planning for it, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, tip number one is to plan for it, budget for it, have it built into what you're spending. My second tip would be to commit to it. So if you're going to
Okay.
spend the money on this, if you are going to decide this is a priority, I am putting my money towards healthcare, holistic care, alternative care, then you've got to commit. And I mean, like I'm guilty of it sometimes. I've been seeing you now a couple of years. I have more supplements than can fit in my cabinet. And sometimes
You have to take them, not collect them.
exactly. Yes, and that's the commit part because you've got to know if you're spending whether it's $40 on something or $400 on something, that's still money
Right,
you've put towards this, and it's not going to do any good if it's just sitting in your medicine cabinet.
right. So the follow through is
Yeah,
important, which helps the mindset too, right? So if you've gotten through step one and put it on your a line item and made it a budget item so that you have the money available to utilize it, but then you don't commit and you're not doing the follow through, then the guilt and the self sabotage and those types of things start to set in, and then it's going to change your belief system about ever trying to do it again in the
right.
future,
Yeah,
right?
because we're not going to blame us, right? It's like it's going to be your
Right,
fault, right? We didn't take our supplements
right.
and it didn't work, and so we'll have changed
Yeah,
our mindset. Yeah.
right. But then it would, that could be a sabotage thing in the future about, future choices that you make because you set yourself up for not a positive situation in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else on the commit side of things that you wanted to make a comment about?
No, I mean, I think that if you're going to commit your dollars to this, then you have to commit to the follow through. And that means being open-minded. That means working with your practitioner. That means doing what you're supposed to do. Or you're going to have, double guilt. You're going to have guilt for the money you've spent, and you're going to have guilt for not doing what you committed to doing. So,
Right. Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. So, do you want to tell us about your third
Yeah,
tip?
so the third tip is to save. All right. So, and this can be a couple of different ways. One is it's your budget line item, but maybe you are starting out small and you're going to want to do more. You've embraced this alternative lifestyle. There's more things you want to do down the line. So start saving up for that. Start your own healthcare fund. Open up a savings account and put some dollars to that. So whenever you are making next steps, you've had the money saved up for this and you can afford it.
Okay. Yeah, and one of our comments is like there's actually a health savings account. I think you and I have talked a little bit about this
Yeah.
before. So for our listeners, if they don't know about a health savings account, I'll say what I know it is, and then April definitely like fill in there if I'm saying it incorrectly. But A health savings account is actually an account that you own that you can dedicate to put money into. There is a cap on it, kind of like an IRA. Like there's a maximum amount of money that you can put into it every year, but that money is yours, and you can use it for health expenses that might not be covered by your major medical. And so that allows you to see out-of-network practitioners or alternative practitioners, and you can use the money that you've saved up. Now, the good thing about a health savings account is that it actually rolls over from year to year. So there are other accounts like flexible spending that some people's employers will offer, but a health savings account, flexible spending, you have to use it by the end of the year or it doesn't roll over. But a health savings account, it rolls over. So you can continue to pool the money, which is kind of like what you're saying, like save it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. And what I love about an HSA and an FSA, so is that if you do this through your employer, a lot of times this money is pre-taxed. So it's going in. And so what that's doing is it is reducing your taxable income. So if you put $100 a paycheck into your HSA or FSA, it won't be $100 less in your paycheck because you're going to get taxed on a lower amount. So, keep that in mind.
Right.
I love it. I think they're totally sexy. I'm a big advocate for them if you use them properly. It's a great way to go and to pay, and without Uncle Sam having taken a 10, 15, 20% cut. So you're already saving money just by using those cards.
Like double savings, right?
Yeah, right. And then, then look for ways to save at the facility you go to. So like you're wonderful about, if you pay in full, you get a discount, you support our military, and you give a discount. So always ask, you never want to try and shortchange somebody their livelihood, but if they offer discounts, you want to take advantage of those.
Right. And I know too, like I can speak on behalf of my field. A lot of out-of-network practitioners and alternative medical doctors would have something available like a payment plan, a monthly payment option, or different levels of discounted plans like packages. So definitely ask if you're seeing somebody that's out of network or you're seeing somebody that offers alternative care, because I think that's kind of across the board like a pretty standard thing. And there also might be, in addition to like the military discounts, senior discounts, there also might be family discounts. So if you want this type of care, not only for yourself, but for a spouse and for children and family members, a lot of times there's like multiple family member discounts available. So we found that that's worked pretty good. And that'll keep the cost kind of comparable to what you're used to as like a traditional copay kind of amount. So don't think just because somebody says they're out of network or they don't take your insurance that you can't necessarily afford the care, right, April?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love asking about family discount because that also kind of solidifies your commitment, right? If everybody in your house is on the same plan, then it's going to be easier to do that.
Yeah, and we see that the same, I think across the board in healthcare, women are more likely to get some kind of medical or alternative care. That's just the way it is in the healthcare field. But they have the harder time if they don't get the husband on board and they don't have the kids on board. It's very difficult because then they're trying to make different meals for different people and everybody's on different programs. Or, somebody's kind of like sabotaging in their ear, like, why are you spending that money? Or, why are you taking those different products? Or why can't we eat wheat? Whatever it might be, that doesn't help in the long run on the commitment side of things either.
Right. No, yep, absolutely. I know once my husband got on board, it was like, it was just easier,
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know, my camera got dark. Do I look like I'm dark now?
You're good. I can still see you.
I'm in the shadows. I don't know. I have no idea. So we're getting a couple of people that are in agreement with us. Some people are saying like, okay, of course, like you can save money for something enjoyable like entertainment, a concert, or a trip or a vacation. But then when we talk to you about setting aside money for healthcare, not as exciting, not as sexy, right? So, April, you talk a lot about like long-term planning and you know, saving for the future. Do you want to talk about that a little bit too on the saving side of things? Like, I like some of your analogies about, you know, I've heard you say, for example, like if you look at your bank account and you know, you see on your statement what you spend the majority of your money, that kind of tells you about your
Yeah.
values. Like you put your money on what you value the most. So if you look through it and you see, you know, like Taco Bell and I don't even know, I'm not very hip on like what are even like the fast food places, Chick-fil-A and that kind of repeatedly, Starbucks, that kind of stuff coming up on the regular, and you start adding it up, that probably could be your healthcare budget,
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes. I mean, what I see with my clients, what they spend on fast food, is huge. I mean, it can be sometimes more than what their housing hell,
Wow.
sometimes my eating out budget is more
Wow.
than my, not this mortgage, but maybe my last mortgage. So because it's convenience and it's ease, and you know, there's nothing wrong with eating out as long as it's a budget line item, but unless your choices are not in alignment with your priorities. So, I mean, you've got it
Yeah.
down pretty good when I say if you're spending your money on eating out like bad food, Taco Bell, Wendy's, and you have a $300 cable bill and Netflix and Hulu, and you are um, sitting around watching TV, right? You're spending several $100s a month on something that's not getting to you to your goals. So you can take
Right.
that money and then put it towards, getting healthy and doing holistic care and doing the things you want to do. And honestly, you may come away with paying less.
That's awesome. That really puts it in perspective. I mean, I know that people spend an awful lot of money, but it's like $3 at a time, $4 at a time. So it doesn't hurt immediately, you know. It's like, oh, I've got some spare cash or some single dollars in my wallet. And so it's easy to just, you know, slide through the drive through and grab a quick something.
Yeah,
But when you stop and actually add it up, oh my gosh, if that's the cost of your car payment or your mortgage
yeah,
payment, that's insane.
yeah.
I mean, for that amount of money, I don't know what the listeners or watchers think alternative medicine costs, but it is not a mortgage payment in most people's case. I can tell you that. So if you could stop eating unhealthy food at a restaurant and swap that out for a healthcare program for some prevention and to be proactive, which in the future would even cut your potential costs on emergency type medicine care and prescriptions,
Yeah.
that's a no-brainer, wouldn't you
Yeah,
say?
absolutely. I mean, not to mention just quality of life. I mean, I can remember going on vacations with my grandparents, and my mama was in such bad health, she couldn't do half the stuff we did. And so,
Yeah.
so you may be trying to save money, you may be trying to like, okay, well, I can't do alternative medicine because it'll cost too much, but what are you trading when you go on these vacations with your family that you're spending money on, and you can't,
Right.
get on the roller coaster because, maybe you get too much
Right.
hips, or you can't go hiking. I got a lot of
Or
hips.
your doctor told you, how about this one? Your doctor told you you're not healthy enough to enjoy. I like when they tell them that, people ask your doctor if you're healthy enough to have like physical relations. I'm like, does anybody actually ask their doctor for permission to do that?
I know, right? So
You didn't think I was going to go there, did
I
you?
did not, but it's a really good point because I can assume, like if you're not having regular, healthy, romantic relations, a divorce attorney is going to cost a lot more than holistic
Yeah,
care.
that costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
Definitely costs more than holistic
right.
care. I love it. So what about like on the savings, like your second tip about save, or no, commit was number two, three was
Hmm.
save. On saving, that's what I also wanted you to comment a little bit more about, like long-term planning,
Yeah.
because that's something like we think about like saving for healthcare and we think about like our immediate healthcare needs, but what about future planning and saving for the future?
Oh man, that's so important, and there's so many ways you can do that. You want to be saving for retirement, whether you're self-employed or a corporate employee, you want to be saving for retirement in a 401k, an IRA. You want to have your life insurance in place. You want to have life insurance as soon as possible before you're diagnosed with anything, or as you get older, it gets more expensive. And then long-term care is really important as well, because there's going to be a day when you may need someone to come into your home or go to a facility. And look, a lot of people want to age in home, which means they want to die in their house. They want to get old and stay in their house. I want to go to a facility. All right. I want to go to a nursing home.
The luxurious facility,
Yeah.
right? Somewhere luxurious.
I want a choice. All right. There are choices and facilities. And if you aren't saving for that, if you're not saving for that now, you're not going to get a choice. So it's really important to do that as soon as possible. If anyone has any questions, they can definitely contact me. I can help them. But it's never too early to start. And, you want to get started today.
Is there an age that you recommend where it's best to start saving for the long-term planning?
My daughter's been saving for retirement since she was 9.
Wow, she's way ahead of the game.
So it's never too early. I say, like, kids are expensive. If you're single and you don't have any kids right now, now's a great time to start saving. 30s and 40s.
I thought you were gonna tell him to keep it that way.
Oh no.
Oh. Okay.
That's a lifestyle choice.
Okay.
But yeah, it's when you're in your 30s and 40s, I mean, that's really like when you're like getting to the point where like, okay, like no fooling around, it's time to start doing this. If you're in your 50s, here's my phone number. No, but call me now.
Well, and you taught us too, like, I think it's hard for people, like, for me, for example, like, I'm healthy, I'm in the alternative medicine world, like, our lifestyle is that we don't go to medical doctors. If God forbid something happened to me, like, I would go see alternative doctors all day long and go see my colleagues and do exactly what I recommend that my patients do on a daily basis in the practice. So it's hard to think about that, like, even though you might not currently be seeing a doctor or have a physical diagnosis currently, to be putting a sizable amount of money aside for this, like, what might seem right now like a big what if one day in the future. But what made me at ease is that you taught us that while we're doing it, it's actually a form of savings, and that there's a cash benefit to this stuff. So I forget what it was, but like, by the time do you remember mine? I don't mind people knowing, like, by the time I'm 72.
Yeah, by the time you're 72, you'd have what, was it 7 figures in there? Was it?
I think so. I mean, it was a sizable amount, and I was like, wow, that's the best retirement plan I could have ever put in place for myself, because I have options, is what you said. Like, I could use it for long-term planning. I could use it for some kind of disability. I could also use it if I need to extract the cash out of it. So that money's mine. And what felt good also is that, like, even though some people have problems with discipline with money. So, like, you put it in a savings account, but you still see it when you pull up, like, your little bank app, and it's, like, so easy to just, like, bloop, like,
a put and take account.
Transfer that over to my checking account. Yeah, it's too easy. But with this, like, you can't touch it without a penalty for a certain amount of time. So I like the fact that it forces me to save. Like, I'm more likely to keep it in there until I need it, or until it's, like, worth something and I can't touch it. And I actually like that.
I mean, there are certain products that will give you like 3-in-1. It'll give you life insurance. It will give you retirement benefits, and it will give you long-term care benefits for, depending on your age and health, like the cost of a car payment. You know what I mean? So this is something that will last you forever. My daughter has one. I have one. Because, like, I want her to come see me when I'm old and disabled, because she wants to see me, or because she wants money, not because I need her to, like, wipe my butt. So
you want her to come to you for money? I feel like you should stop projecting that out into the world.
I know. I'm just, when I'm 80, if my baby girl wants money, like, I won't give it to her now, but if I'm 80 and she wants some money, come see mama, but
that's because you're saving for it, right?
Yeah. So.
But she's probably a big line item in your budget.
Not anymore. Like, I'm really big on, like, my clients not having their adult children on the payroll. So I call it like on the
Yeah.
so,
That would be ideal. It seems like that would be
yeah.
ideal.
So at when she graduated from high school, she came off the payroll. You know, she was taught
Yeah.
her habits. She was taught what to do. She was taught how to budget. Um, she had to become a client about 6 months ago because she didn't always listen. um, you know,
Yeah.
and so we worked on some things, but no, when she was growing up, now she was a big budget line item. I did a spreadsheet. She was about $18,000 a year. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Now you can reallocate those dollars though that you were disciplined in saving to something else, right?
Yes, I mean that is always
Like
the plan. That is always the plan. But here's what happens with people, and I know we're getting a little off topic, but here's what happens is when we get raises or when we get bonuses, we just put that back into our checking accounts. And so it gets like just lumped in with everything else. And so then we raise our lifestyle, we raise, you know, our means instead of saving that. So,
right.
which
Got it.
do what I say, not what I do. I'm just kidding.
Well, and I feel like that was a really good another side topic, but you're always modeling for the next generation. And so we talk about that with our families. Like the best gift that I think that parents can give their kids is to teach them that there are other choices than wait till your body is sick and then pour on the emergency measures and just be at the mercy of, emergency care.
Yeah.
To teach them that you can be proactive and you can be empowered and take control over your health. So when you're saving and being disciplined and committing and staying on program and following the 3 tips that you gave everybody here, you're modeling that to your family and teaching them that that's the way you do it and making sure that they know to always make sure that there's money available for them to continue to live the life, lifestyle choices that they make too.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important that you're also handing this model down to the future generation.
Right. No, and you're right. And here's why they need people like you and people like me is we don't know what we don't know, right? So when it comes to health and money, we want to model for our kids. We want to model for the next generation, but sometimes what we have misinformation. Sometimes, you know, I can remember when Elizabeth was growing up, it was like, all right, eat your oatmeal and here's your wheat bread. And I thought I was doing right, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's really important for people to tap into the experts and tap into resources so that everyone has the best of intentions, but make sure you're passing along the right information.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Especially in healthcare and in financial world, there's a gazillion different bloggers and people out there giving their advice and their opinion on social media. And it really just kind of like people's heads get like super confused about how do you tease out what's the truth and who's right and who's wrong? Like you get so much conflicting information. So yeah, of course, it's important to find an expert, but it's also important to find somebody that you work well with and that listens to you and that will work in, what your guidelines are. Obviously, you can't make everything up on your own, and you'll exhaust yourself to the point where you've tried everything that you know to do on your own and eventually find like, okay, in order to get the next bump in your financial world or the next bump in your health scenario, that you need some expert advice, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do have a bonus tip.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
see.
so you get one for free. Here you go. All right.
Okay.
One of my biggest tips is if you are doing holistic care or you want to, yeah, Stacy, bonus is you need and you, yes,
Bonus.
and you're an employee, so your employer you get your health benefits through your employer. What I want you to do is I want you to check and see what kind of out of network coverage they have. So if you get like for
Okay.
you, if they come to you, if they get a super bill, they can submit that to their insurance company, and a couple of
Right.
things could happen. One, nothing, right? But then at least you know.
Right.
Two
Right.
is that you could get reimbursed a certain percentage of what you pay out of pocket because it's out of network and there may be some benefits for that. Or
True.
three is they may not reimburse you, but what you pay out of pocket could go towards your deductible. So you're lowering your deductible. So whenever you need that, you've already put so much money towards it. So it takes a little bit of legwork, but it could totally be worth it. And this is May. I would go back. Sorry, Cherie. I would go back January through now and get your super bills and send those into your insurance company and see what happens, because I would rather know it's a no than miss out.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and it's totally true. And it's not a big deal. I know you, Sharice will love you anyway. It's not a big deal because it's just a report. It's available. Any person who has, you know, chiropractic or medical software, that's always an option, is to print the super bill. And you couldn't even go back to like last year. It might be too late at that point, but you know, it's not a big deal to go to the beginning of the year. And then what we usually tell people is, you know, just pick a frequency that you want to do that. You know, if you do it every visit, that can be excessive paperwork, and then, you know, it can get lost, or you just are giving them ammunition to deny it or lose the paperwork. But if you do it like monthly, depending on how often you see your practitioner, or maybe like quarterly, and then you submit like a bit, you know, one big super bill in. But I think that's great advice, and that might be something that people don't realize, you know, for out of network coverage, that you can at least submit it and count towards your deductible, or you might get reimbursed right away.
Check with your insurance company and see what kind of filing requirements they have.
Yeah. One thing I can tell you, like for us, we are not a network practitioner, but what our experience over 16 years has been is that the insurance companies actually make it a lot easier for the for you, the customer, the subscriber, to submit on your own behalf than they give the practitioner. So with a practitioner, they send it back and forth and they deny it and they ask for additional, you know, proof and medical necessity and all this stuff, where usually like you guys send it in and they are just like, okay, we approve it. So it actually cuts out the middleman and makes it a faster process. If you are going to get reimbursement, you actually get it a lot faster from what we've experienced by submitting it yourself than allowing your practitioner to do it. So,
ooh,
cool.
Can I add
what
bonus number
Another
2?
bonus?
Yes.
Bonus? Yes. Oh, bonus number 2.
So that scenario, regardless of the outcome, you also want to keep track, like at the end of the year, all of your out-of-pocket medical expenses. Look, I am not a tax professional. I don't do taxes. I hate them. I have somebody I pay to do it because I don't want to mess with it.
Me too, sister.
But what you want to do is talk to your tax professional, see if you're eligible to write off any of your out-of-network medical expenses. There's usually some kind of like percentage of your income that has to be.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but especially for people that own their own companies, like that's, yeah, if you're self-employed, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, check, you know, self-employed, retired, employee, talk to your tax professional. You should really have a tax professional, guys. Like, that's money well spent. But talk to her and see what she advises you on your out-of-pocket expenses. Look, CVS, Walgreens, all of these can also do a printout for you of what you've spent on your prescription. So dentistry, eyes, holistic care, acupuncture, heck, try and throw a massage in there, like all of your medical expenses, you want to get to your tax professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Supplement charges, all of that, your product, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Okay, so we had a few people that just joined in a little bit late. So do you want to do just a quick, so April was giving us 3 tips on how to financially prioritize your health. So do you want to just give a quick, like, what was the 1 through 3? They missed it.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, so number 1 tip, first tip, is to make it a budget line item, because we all have budgets, right? We all do our budget. We all write down our expenses. So holistic care, holistic care and all of the things you spend your money on health-wise needs to be in your budget. That takes away the guilt. It takes away the stress. The second tip was to commit. If you're putting your money into this, you need to commit to it. Stephanie Lincoln yells at me consistently about consistency. So you want to commit to this, go all in, try and get your family on board, and do the plan.
True.
Tip number three is if you know you're going to want to ramp this up, get more care, get different care, go on a bigger program, save for it. Put money aside each month, put it into a savings account, name your savings account something sexy, and put money aside and save for it so you can pay cash.
Okay, I love it. I think it all makes perfect sense.
All right.
So April, obviously our audience is going to have more questions. I feel like what you said, it's common sense, but it's like one of those things, like we all like kind of know what we should be doing, but human nature is like we could always do better. So if people have more questions, they want to get in touch with you personally, they want to work out an actual budget and figure out how they could maybe reallocate some of their dollars towards their healthcare. What would you say? What's the best way to get in touch with you? What would be the first steps?
I'd say the first step is you can go to my website, which is womensmoneycoach.com. You can learn more about me, see some different programs, find all of my social media links. If you're like, heck yeah, I'm ready, I want a budget, I'm ready to do that, shoot me an email and let's chat. My email is hello@aprilcaldwell.me.
And let's make sure we both put comments after the video with all your contact info, okay?
Yep. And I'll put in the comments too. I've got a freebie that everyone can get a, yes. They can download.
People love bonuses and they love freebies.
Right. Well, just for your people, like your tribe are special. So you can, I'll put the link in there. You can download, it's called the Bossy Decision Guide, and it is 5 ways to make a money decision. So when you're like, should I buy something? Should I not? Should I invest in this? These 5 questions you can ask yourself and will help you guide you.
I love that. Thank you for doing that. I know our audience, they're already thanking you and excited.
So sweet. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Why is it called Bossy? Because you're a money boss?
And then each step starts with BOSSY. So you can remember when you're standing in like Nordstrom Rack and you're like, should I buy these shoes? Okay. Most of the time the answer is always yes. All right. But if you really want to know, then you just think bossy in your mind in each step. You can go through, and it's an easy way to remember it.
I love it. Well, thank you again for providing that. Any last closing remarks that you want the audience to know?
I think that if they are on the fence about taking next steps with holistic care, that they need to get information. I think they need to talk with you. I am your biggest supporter. You have changed my life, and don't wait.
Thank you. Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. Check us out next time. We'll continue to do these Facebook Live videos. We always want to bring you people that are tried and true, that we love and trust and know their services, so that you don't have to shop around and find, all that conflicting information. We know and love and trust April. She's done remarkable for us personally. Me and my husband use her. Most of my colleagues use her. A lot of my patients have been reaching out to her. So she's always a hit anytime we bring her on and have her at our events. So we've been very blessed to have you tonight, April. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, we will see you on the airwaves.
All right. Bye.
Bye.